Welcome to Inclusive Plug powered by RECONOMY. I'm your host, Sabin. We have Dr. Risto Ivanov joining us. Risto is a senior expert in managing EU and national projects in North Macedonia, focusing on the energy efficient construction and renovation sector. Moreover, Risto is part of the RECONOMY interventions in the Western Balkan region, where he brings knowledge and hands-on experience to our discussion for this episode. From historical shifts to future predictions, from grassroots movements to major policy shifts, get ready for an in-depth exploration of the Western Balkans energy landscape. Risto, thank you for joining Inclusive Plug powered by RECONOMY.
Thank you for the invitation.
To set the stage, let's go back in time. How has the Western Balkans approach to energy efficiency shifted over the past decades? And what's been driving these changes?
The Western Balkan approach is most defined as so-called top-down approach. What does it mean? That the approach to energy efficiency was to follow UN Millennium Goals and EU directives and regulation in order to achieve national targets related to climate neutrality and rational use of resources, because it is the main challenges for the sustainable development. And because of that, Western Balkan countries were obliged to set national target regarding the energy efficiency. For example, EU Strategy 2020 set up the targets, which means 20% gases emission to be reduced, 20% increase in energy efficiency, and to reach 20% renewables in total energy consumption. And every country was obliged to reach these targets. And reaching these targets was connected with enacting the strategic documents, legislation, and after that to implement some kind of action in order to present that every country work something can have some real impact in these targets. And mostly they were focused on changing and reform the legislation, introducing the new approach and reform in the energy sector, construction, transport, agriculture, and public sector. And regarding the energy efficiency approach is to make reforms in two big areas. First area was production of energy. It means to create and integrate some kind of energy market where the production of the energy will be more focused on the renewables, because EU have very strict targets to shift fossil fuels with the renewables. And this was the first area where it was obliged to make some changes. Mm-hmm. The next area was how to reduce energy consumption. And with that will be some kind of impact on the gas emissions. That means less gas emission connected with the climate neutrality. And Western Balkan country were most focused on the, let's say, sectors where it's possible to achieve faster results. For example, in energy sector and construction. The next one was transport, also agriculture sector. And the last one was the public sector, because it was the most easy to make some changes and to implement some action. And if we talk about the drivers, as the second part of the question of these changes, I would say that because of the this top-down approach, the first driver was the national legislation, policy, and regulatory framework. And if they are set up in that, it is start to make regulation of the market. The second driver was if there were available funds to finance and to make energy efficiency investment. And the third one was the market demand, which is the, let's say, some kind of bottom-up approach in this field in energy efficiency. And in the last decade, they make some changes, which is mostly in the changing of regulation, policy, and some, let's say, achievement regarding the impact or national energy targets that were set up with the strategic documents.
Right, right. And when we look at the current energy scene, where do the Western Balkans countries get most of their power?
I couldn't say power, but I would say that in the current energy scene, the Western Balkan countries are more pragmatic. What does it mean? They see where it's possible to achieve faster and bigger results, higher results. And because of that, they were focused on the two sectors. One sector was sector was production of the energy. It means because of the advances, solar, wind, they put attention on the introducing of renewables in the production of energy. And the second one was to provide faster energy efficiency in the most bigger sector. It is the building sector, because according to the data, this sector consumes almost 43% of the primary energy consumption, and the potential for energy efficiency in this sector is around 40%, almost in all Western Balkan countries. And here was the two main, let's say, focus when the country takes some action. And it is, I think, pragmatic approach. It is okay because really was achieved some results, and they have reported to the EU energy community what results was achieved. And it is better to say it is not power, but is more pragmatic approach to take some advantage of the area and space where they're located. And regarding the other things, let's say as a transport, agriculture, the step of changes is a little bit slow, and it's not possible to say that it is some power of this country. I think that this is some kind of advances of this country to reach the target that are requested by the EU community.
Now, every journey has its hurdles. And what do you think are the major challenges that this region faces when it comes to upping its energy efficiency game?
Yes, there is really big hurdles because, as I said, when they focused on these advantages regarding the changes in the energy sector and energy consumption, they were focused on the availability of renewable sources for energy, as I said, existing construction sector, because in all Western Balkan countries, this sector is well developed. They have a good share in the GDP. And also because of very, very old building stocks, it was big potential for renovation of existing stocks, and also to to make some standards for the new buildings. And because of the targets they set and promised to the EU energy community, some kind of steps are necessary in order to implement these reforms. First, let's say barriers, it is common barriers for our country, was slow integration of objectives and targets in the policy and legal framework. What does it mean? They accepted directives, they put some targets, but these targets have to be integrated in the law, in the policy. And first hurdle was slow process of this integration and adoption of the legislation. In the area, let's say in the energy sector and the construction, was made the biggest progress, the big progress. But these changes and these new standards should be implemented if there is some kind of funds or finance. And the second hurdle was how to provide money for implementing these changes. In the area where the money was provided, the next obstacles or hurdles was low market demand from the people, investors, and businesses. And when the demand was here, let's say it was mostly in the renewables and also the renovation, it was skills gap. What means it was a lack of qualified workers and professionals who can implement it in the satisfactory manner, energy efficiency measures. It was some kind of process where this country should, let's say, overcome barriers in order to accelerate this process.
Right. And on the policy front, are there any specific governmental initiatives that stand out in promoting energy efficiency? Like, how do they fare compared to the rest of Europe?
As I mentioned, they follow this approach to be focused on renewables and to make more renovation. And in this area was really some government initiatives. First of all, let's say some subsidiary incentives for the producer of renewable energy, let's say electricity from solar, from wind. They give some incentives, feed tariffs, so-called. And also the next big initiative was certification of energy performance of the buildings and issuing this kind of certificate for energy classes of buildings. It is the two initiatives that are followed from all Western Balkan countries. And it was some kind of incidental, or let's say separate initiative when the energy prices went up. Almost all country was focused on some subsidiary to support householders and businesses. And also in many countries was introduced, let's say, some kind of additional money if householders introduce renewables, let's say for the heating, for the lighting, or solar panel or photovoltaic, or also to change heating from the fuel fossil with other means of heating. And it was some kind of second-hand initiatives. And the third-hand, or let's say third level of initiatives, was to provide money or credits with low interest rate and the loan with grants, which will, let's say, put forward the householders and businesses to invest and to provide more energy efficient buildings. It can be some kind of three level of initiatives they start implemented. But if we compare with Europe, we are, let's say, very, very slow in this process. There is some kind of justification about that. Why? because Europe enact many strategic documents, let's say Green Deal, Repower EU plan, Green Agenda for Western Balkan, and so on. And every strategic document or policy is supported with the financial program, let's say Horizon, Life, and many favorable credits from Europe Investment Bank, Program Elena for the municipality, and so on. And their strategic objectives are supported with the finance. But in the Western Balkan, this is some kind of problems because we have no access to the most funds that are available for the EU country, let's say structural funds. And this lack of money is some kind of obstacles in order to follow the path of the EU country. And also, and maybe the most advanced initiatives is the enforcement of the certification of energy classes of the buildings. But these barriers, financing, it is a little bit problem. I would say the main problem in order to follow the rest of the Europe.
And thank you, Risto. And speaking of economics, do the energy prices and the broader economic landscape influence energy decisions in the Western Balkan region? What's your take on this?
Yes, but energy prices make some shift in the Western Balkan country, because before that, most of the action was towards how to prepare strategic documents, set up the goals, and also to find finance in order to implement the action in an activity that was set up in the action plans for energy efficiency. But with the high energy prices, they changed their approach. They were, let's say, in the position to think more about how to alleviate the problems with the householders and the business, and they give more and more subsidies regarding the energy prices and also regarding the fuel prices. And because of that, it was some kind of stops, and most of the decision that had to be about the reform and the faster step for the energy efficiency was changed with the decision how to, let's say, defend from these high energy prices. And most attention was put on this side. From the other side, also the people or householders and businesses were also more focused how to survive and how to cut the cost in order to provide profitability and to be competitive right. on the market. And it was biggest changes in the decision. Let's say if the prices push them to defend from the conditions, external condition, they couldn't go in the more investment, in the more action regarding the provision of energy efficiency and so on. Only one decision was, let's say, speed up. It was with the shift of the fossil fuel with the renewables. Let's say many businesses start big investment to put photovoltaic panels on their business, on their buildings, and in that case, to, let's say, to save money regarding the electricity.
Mm-hmm. And how about the people? How do the public and local businesses view energy efficiency? Is there a grassroots push towards sustainability in the region?
I couldn't say that there is some kind of big initiatives, but let's say that there is a higher level of awareness that everyone should be included in this section. Everyone should do something regarding the energy efficiency, but they usually wait for some top-down initiatives for the government, who will be supported with finance, because, as I said, they are not able to provide finance in order to implement energy efficiency measures. But this awareness is, let's say, speed up with the initiatives from the householders, the tenants, more the tenants, not investors, the tenants, to make energy efficiency measures, because we implemented some EU project, and we make some survey about the opinion of the professionals, opinion of the householders, tenants, and also other stakeholders. And there is big awareness about that. They want to do something, but they have some kind of reservation if this intervention and these measures will have real good cost-benefit ratio. It means if their investment will provide benefits they expected. And I would say that they wait for some initiative from the government, from the regional or local authorities, and they follow this, but they are afraid. Let's say there is many now in most Western Balkan country available credit line who are, let's say, very favorable, because it is low interest rate, and after the successful completion of renovation, they will receive 20% grant. That means 20% of the money will be returned to them, and all investment is more cheaper, or let's say less expensive than if they do on themselves. But in that case, the demand for this intervention are low, and I could say that there is good justification, because all the political situation, waiting about the processes of EU accession, and also this crisis, make them more passive and very careful when they take some initiatives. And also there is some, let's say, initiatives how to change energy sources, let's say, to use more the biomasses for the energy, but it is mostly on the business level, and it's not, let's say, some large scale initiatives that can make some changes.
Right. And I'm curious, within the Western Balkan region, are there countries or a country that stands out as a leader in energy efficiency? Any regional champion?
Regarding these questions, I was thinking what to be indicator to measures, let's say, advance, or if someone is regional champion or not. And in this moment, it's possible to measure this only in the amount of investments that country make in this sector, energy efficiency. And let's say in the period from 2020 to 2021, let's say the all Western Balkans in average increased money invested in the energy efficiency for 70%. And it is, let's say, amount of 1.3 billion euro. But if we see that the real investment needs in this sector for all Western Balkan countries are 3.5 billion euro, it means that only 36% of the needs are reached. Mm-hmm. And if we see this, there is data that the most ahead in this indicator are Serbia, let's say, Macedonia, and Kosovo. And if we, let's say, analyze why it's happened, it is first in Serbia, there is very good legislation regarding the certification of energy performance of the buildings. Very good register, and they push this process ahead. North Macedonia is more focused on the renewable energy sources. And also Albania support, in many cases, construction, and this sector have very high rate of growth, high growth rate and a share in the GDP. But to say that someone is champion in all area is very difficult to do this. Only I find only these two indicators. First indicator about the who did something is the investment in energy efficiency. And the second one, when it's more difficult to find data regarding the impact, or it necessary to wait longer time in order to find this indicator. The second criteria or indicator will be how some area is organized on the national level. And because of that, I would say that this country have more structured approach, and they are more organized in some sectors. And I mentioned about Serbia with the renovation, Macedonia with renewables, Albania with the construction sector grow, and Kosovo maybe because the need to shift the fossil fuels with the renewables.
Right. Thank you so much, Risto. And the European Union is a significant player in this. How has the EU Green Deal sculpted the Western Balkans energy approach, considering the aspirations of the countries in the region to join the bloc, the EU? How might that influence energy reforms?
Okay, the European Union want their, let's say, strategy document, directives and regulation to be extended in the Western Balkan country. And because of that, they prepare again the green agenda for Western Balkan. And here there is many direction what have to be done. The first, let's say, reform that should be priority is the more focus on the shift of fossil fuels with renewables. And it will be one direction of the reforms that will be influenced by the EU. Next one is the creation of competitive and integrate energy markets. It means the country will be pushed to integrate energy markets, to cooperate more, collaboration regarding it is mostly linked with the electricity. And also they will push in the direction how the new targets, because all Western Balkan countries have to set up new targets until 2030, and it means how these targets will be integrated in the new policy. That means to enact new strategic documents to push towards this direction, because their main constraint are that in Western Balkan country there is three main, let's say, problems. That they are more or heavily reliant on the fossil fuels. The second is obsolete technology. It means they will spend more energy, and also gas emissions higher, and also aging facilities, or as I mentioned, existing building stocks. And this is the three area where we have attention of EU, and they will push towards them. And also it's transport, but I think that regarding the transport, because it's also connected with the with funds and financing, it is the second level of activity they will push this country. And they ask from Western Balkan country, everyone, to prepare national action plan, how they will implement green agenda for Western Balkan. And as I know that all country, they prepare action plan, but I'm not sure that they are supported by the action, not action plan, but the sources of finance that will be used in order to implement this action.
And the European Union wants Europe to become carbon neutral by 2050. It's increasingly clear that we have to stop using fossil fuels as quickly as possible to slow global warming. Now, peering into the crystal ball, where do you see the Western Balkan region in 2050, energy-wise? Do you think the region will become carbon neutral?
Really, I think that in energy efficient investment will increase and more available funds will be pushed here, because now Europe enacted more and more directives. Let's say one very interesting new one is that in the banking sectors in all EU country and accession country, candidate for accession, the banking sector have to have 20% from his portfolio allocated for the green investment, including in an energy investment. And also there is a very big push to, let's say, combine or mix the public funds with the private money or private funds in order to provide more available and favorable source of money for the energy investment. It will push towards the bigger investment, bigger implementation of the energy efficiency measure. And indeed, at this moment, the most people and the businesses are more focused on the photovoltaic. But here is also another problem, that the existing national energy network couldn't receive all this produced electricity. And now it means new investment in order to upgrade this network, electricity network, and how to connect in order to help Western Balkan country each other when there is the more production to exchange and so on. But the main question was regarding the climate neutrality to 2050. My opinion is it will be very difficult. And one of the reasons is that if Western Balkan country still have the problem with finance, let's say without clear access to the most favorable finance in order to implement their strategic document, National Plan for Energy Efficiency, it will be very difficult. If they become not EU members, but let's say if they have better access to the structural fund, to their program, or maybe credits line for European Invest Bank, and if they have this, in that case, they will go faster, and maybe will be not climate neutrality, but let's say very close to that target. And in that case, not only achieving the climate neutrality will be the target, or let's say impact, it will be bigger investment, higher GDP, new jobs, new opportunity for investment. Because with this shift in energy efficiency, there is problem also for the governments and from the people, but from the other side there is some opportunity. Let's say there is more and more new technology, and also there is many new skills and many new jobs. And we should see on two sides, problems and challenges, but also to see opportunity that If Western Balkan country go in this direction, that will be better development, higher GDP growth, and also better standard of living.
Right, Risto, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And that wraps up our interesting conversation with Risto. We've traversed the energy pathways of the Western Balkan region, uncovered to a certain extent the regional champion, gauged public sentiment, and looked into the future of a carbon neutral world. As the Western Balkans weave their energy tapestry, it's evident that both challenges and opportunities lie ahead. Thank you, Risto, once again for sharing your insights and expertise. To the viewers and listeners out there who are following us, remember that every step towards energy efficiency is a step towards a brighter, more sustainable future. Thanks for tuning in to Inclusive Plug powered by RECONOMY. Until next time, keep the conversations charged and the lights bright.